Welcome to episode 154 of In Touch with iOS, a podcast that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I am your host, Dave Ginsburg, and my co-host, Warren Sklar, is here. He's at the beach house. How you doing, Warren?
I'm discombobulated. Thank you. I'm just trying to get... I rushed to hook up things I've never hooked up before to a Mac running a beta. That seemed, out of everything, the Mac is working the best out of everything with the beta on it than everything else here in the room. But here I am, and we'll see how it goes.
And we welcome back to the show Mr. Jeff Gamet. Thanks, Jeff, for being here. How are you?
Well, thanks for inviting me on. I'm doing great. And Warren, I have to say, the way that you pulled everything together to be on the show tonight, you're an absolute trooper, even if you don't know what kind of mic you have.
You wouldn't say that if you saw this place. It looks like somebody, like a truck ran over my computer systems here. So there will be some cleanup involved when I'm done. But the good news is that my home base pod studio is awesome. So can we do this like Mondays or Tuesdays or Wednesdays? Do the podcast, your podcast. We have to change the dates from at the good studio.
I think you're going to have to bring the other mic.
Yeah, okay. I'll deal with it.
I think a mic will be okay. All right, let's. I know some crazy thing has happened this past week. It was WWDC, and I also want to welcome to the show, if she is ready, Miss Kelly Guimont has just joined us. Hi, Kelly. Welcome back to the show.
Hi, everybody. Nice to be here. I feel like it's been forever since we spoke.
It was yesterday, I think it was. We did have a lot of fun at the Suburban Chicago Apple Users Group, iPhone Special Interest Group. Had a blast. Had a lot of great interaction. A lot of the members of my group are great. They love to interact, and you did a great job with a lot of the iPhone tips for them. And I've already had some really good positive comments too, and I'm happy to tell that to our audience as well. So good fun stuff. And of course, you were here last week, so we have to we're going to have to go check our predictions if they really came to fruition, and we will find out here in just a moment. So as I was saying, yes, we had WWDC that happened this past week, so we're definitely going to dive right into what happened during that event. So that really is the news for this week, so we're really just going to move right into the topics, and we'll just start talking about beta like we always do. Beta iOS 14.7 beta 2 is still out, and I last checked in my developer account, and it's still there, and I would go under the assumption that it will get released at some point soon, especially now that iOS 15 is out. And of course, Warren, you're already on iOS 15, so we don't even know what 14.7 is at this point. So, right?
This is true. Well,
I have a hunch.
That's not completely true. It's not completely true. I reverted my iPad back because of reasons, but I am on my phone. I'm on 15. On the iPad, I'm on 14.
Okay. What were you going to say, Jeff?
I have a hypothesis on one of the iOS 14.7 features. Mm-hmm. And I think,
have one too. I wonder if they're the same.
Well, we're about to find out. Mm-hmm. I think 14.7 is going to include the HomePod software update for lossless audio.
That might be it.
Oh, okay. That's not what I had.
Oh, well, now I want to hear what you had.
Well, I'm guessing on this a little bit, but a week or two before the developers conference, we got the announcement from Apple during Global Accessibility Day or Accessibility Awareness Day or whatever it was that I can't remember the name of now, which was this big press release about interaction levels that are coming to watchOS and how you can interact with your watch by clenching your fist or moving your arm through space in order to navigate some of the things. And that's a thing that they absolutely could have held off on if it was going to be part of watchOS 8. But since they didn't, I feel like it's something that's going to be coming to watchOS 7. And so I was wondering if maybe the sidekick to the 14.7 beta, which would be the watchOS beta, might have some of those amped up interaction features as part of that release. Because otherwise they would have just told us it was coming in 8. And since they made sure to talk about it ahead of time and didn't say that it was 8, I feel like that means it's coming sooner. I could be completely wrong.
That could make sense. I could see that, but I'd be interesting to see when they release it because I would think you don't want to have 2 betas going on here, and although they've done that in the past,
they do that.
Yeah, they do that a lot. So, let's before we get into iOS 15, let's go back quickly, Kelly, with our predictions from last week of what we were going to, what we were expecting. So I think what was your first one? We talked about we potentially thought we were going to be in a home OS. That didn't happen. So we were wrong with that. Messages did get not a major update, as they were saying. They did have that. AirPods 3 didn't happen, so and I know you were excited about that because we're not ready yet to be doing that.
Yeah.
And
the new smell hasn't worn off my AirPods Pro yet. As soon as it does, then they can put out whatever headphones they want. But I just want mine to be the latest for a tiny bit. That's all.
I hear you. And then sadly, my 20th anniversary iPod thought of the iPod Touch didn't happen. I
am sad about that.
Well,
again, I do have a soft spot for an iPod.
I do, but again, I'm not at all surprised that there was no hardware announced because this is a software conference, and really Apple doesn't really take the time to want to release hardware during these events, and it always happens when we get the last few days before the event happens. Some rumors are going to say that some piece of hardware is going to get released, and
the 16-inch is coming.
Sure enough. It didn't happen, so I don't think any of us are too sad about it. But I think some are because of the Mac, especially. But
speak for yourself, man.
You want your Mac, I know.
I'm going to sell everything. I'm getting that 6. I'm selling kidneys. I want the 16-inch. I've been waiting for that for
forever.
Your whole life.
Yeah. My whole life. Well,
my crazy theory also did not come true as part of that. Which I'm a little sad about, but I really didn't expect. With all of the thread, they did talk a little bit about Home OS, or not Home OS, but about HomeKit and about stuff that's coming to the Home app and how maybe it'll suck a little less and there will be more things available for it, and that some of the stuff that you can do on your watch, like intercom, is going to come to home, more devices. So if you have a HomePod Mini, you can interact with it with your watch and a couple of other things. I saw that expansion of some of the other stuff that you can do with those. I think the Thread radio stuff that we talked about last week also is going to continue to get attention as these things evolve. And I think we will probably hear more about that in the fall when we get new hardware. Because we will get new hardware in the fall. We get new phones every fall. So that's still a thing that we can probably pretty reliably predict at this point. And I think at that point, maybe we'll hear more about, because it'll be much closer to the release of the operating systems that we got the preview of on Monday. And so once it's a lot closer, I think they'll do a little highlighting of some of the other stuff that's there, or some of the new things. They always have the extra features of stuff in that big tile of features. David, I know you have screenshots of these. Because there's a bunch of stuff in there that shows up that they didn't talk about on stage. So I think they'll probably talk about a few of those things in the fall, a little closer to when we're going to get the hardware that's been built to run this glorious new operating system that they've delivered to us from on high. So I think some of that is going to be interesting. And I think paying attention to the home software and to the capabilities and expanding some of the capability in the kit frameworks that they've offered for everybody, I think is going to be the place to watch going forward, because that's a place where we have a lot of room to grow. iOS is a reasonably mature operating system. macOS is obviously a reasonably mature operating system. So the other stuff that the smaller stuff are the places that we're going to need to look, like tvOS and watchOS and things like that. So
absolutely. So let's jump real quick. I think I don't want to. I mean, we could spend 2 hours just on this alone with the different OSs. So I'm not going to go deep into a lot of the features that were talked about. We have links in the show notes to the preview features that you can go through and read through a lot of this stuff. But some of the key features, and we'll just touch upon a few of them, and not every single thing, but FaceTime was a big thing that was in the announcement, especially the fact now that you have grid view, you have FaceTime links, Android and Windows users can join your discussions now, which is pretty awesome. So they've created a third party API, so others can get into FaceTime. And then the share play was a huge thing, being able to share your screen and be able to share what you're watching and what you're listening to. You want to share a song with somebody or a group of people, you can do that. You can share your movie if you're watching a movie, and you can, and also if you're in your house, you can actually go AirPlay it to your Apple TV and watch on the TV and still be with your friends on screen, which is pretty nifty. I
want to jump in really quick on that, because the interview I put out today over at Daily Observations with Daniel of App Telemetry, one of the things he talked about was being very excited about SharePlay, because he makes an app called App Telemetry that allows you to collect anonymized data about your app, who's using it, how it works, whatever. And then you have this dashboard of information. And the thing that he said he was the most excited about was being able to collaborate with someone else on that. So they're looking at the same dashboard of data in his app. And one of them can go, this would make a lot more sense if we were looking at bar charts instead of pie charts. So I'm going to switch it. And then he switches it, and the other person is seeing exactly the same thing, which totally kicked open a door for me as for usability, as far as the other kinds of things that you can use SharePlay for. Like, nobody's going to want to have a record listening party on FaceTime anymore. If we have the option not to this summer, that's never going to happen. Nobody's going to be home this summer. I'm here to tell you. Like this winter, when people start going, staying home wasn't really the worst thing some of the time. Like, maybe then some of that stuff will be more interesting. I mean, even when they do, nobody calls it a record because I'm old, whatever. But the thing about it that I thought was interesting was all these other uses. And it was one of the things that always really excites me about Apple releasing something new, is what creative folks are going to do with it. And that piece of it, being able to take that SharePlay API and leverage it into something else and turn it into something really cool that can be used by lots of other people in lots of other contexts, seemed like something that was going to be really, really interesting. And now I can't wait. Like, I've been thinking about that ever since we did the interview, like all the other ways that that's a thing that could be cool.
Absolutely. Warren, I don't think you can really get much out of FaceTime right now at this point, because I don't think you know too many other people that are on beta. Have you tried anything with FaceTime since you've put it on?
No, and it's the feature that excites me the least, to be honest with you, but I haven't played with that one yet.
Oh, with the share play. Okay.
Yeah, the share. I mean, even if I had people to share play with, I don't have anybody to play with.
Oh,
it's just because Warren thinks no one will listen to Katy Perry records with him, and that's untrue.
Well, and I do like my Katy Perry. The idea of, and I said this last night to Guy, and he disagreed, but the idea of sharing a movie, watching a movie shared like that, doesn't excite me. It seems weird to me, but I know people like it. Yeah, I mean, and we were talking yesterday about he made the example about like the keynote when everybody kind of goes together and okay. Basically, I said when you're sharing, watching a video together, you don't concentrate as much on what you're watching when you're trying to talk and chat with other people on FaceTime or Zoom or whatever. Whereas if you're like in a room together, it's a lot different because guys said, well, people come to your house, but when you're all together in the same room and staring at the same TV, you're concentrating on what you're watching. You're not worrying about what the other people say. There's body language. You could, thumbs up, thumbs down, nudge each other. So, I mean, I think you lose a lot of what you're trying to watch, especially if it's like a keynote. You know, if it's a movie you've seen 100 times, that's different. But
yeah, no, I agree.
I think this is going to be a walkie-talkie feature where like it's really novel and everybody's going to use it 2 or 3 times to show off this cool thing that they can do and then never use it again.
and
That's what it feels like.
It's
The
very
only
possible.
reason I stopped using walkie-talkie was because the other people I was using it with, they stopped using it.
yeah, I did too.
So
I did too.
then I was suddenly in a Warren position where, you know, he doesn't have anyone to play with, and I didn't have anyone to walkie-talkie with.
I did it with my family, and they hated it, and they shut me out too. So nobody likes to walkie-talkie on the watch.
Yeah, I stopped using it too.
I do. But I'm the only one.
Oh,
Like I'm the only one too, because nobody ever
okay,
wants
Kelly.
to walkie-talkie
Well,
me
we
either.
can still walkie-talkie.
So we
Okay.
can too, Jill Kelly. They're happy to walkie-talkie with you.
All right. Cool.
So that was that pretty much in a nutshell. And you obviously go back and I said go to the site to look through some of the items here. I'm going to kind of just skip a few things and kind of glance over some of these things that are just more notable. The focus, which allows you to be able to match your device's mindset, where you can have a personal focus, work focus, or do not disturb focus, and across all your devices, and you can filter down who can be suggested as far as people that contact you, what notifications you want to show up. Because before in iOS 14, all you had was basically do not disturb, and only people could disturb you of people you allowed to do that. But now you can filter it down to work and play, basically, and personal. Thought it was a pretty cool thing that they did, just trying to get people to help focus and not be interrupted all the time. And I think that's one of the biggest things in that. Jeff, did anything stand out for you with focus?
Yes, actually, the whole thing with being able to have sets so that the things that I want to block out when I'm say working. Or when I'm relaxing or whatever it is, time of day. To me, that's fantastic because I want to block certain things at different times based on what I'm doing. And it's been an all or nothing thing so far. So, I love that it's a more versatile feature now.
Mm-hmm. And I like that. I think it follows on app screens as well, right? Like your homepage of apps can be different depending on like what context you have your phone in, right? So you can have the front page be Slack and Outlook and OmniFocus and like what you need, and then the second page, and then like at 6:00 everything turns over, and now it's Clash of Clans and Angry Birds and
it kind of does that. It does that already though with the Siri suggestions, the widget. That's kind of what it does already. So
but picture this. You're going to speak at an event. Now I have a presenter do not disturb setting. And now it's just the things that I use when I'm doing a presentation, and all the notifications are blocked.
This is my new favorite thing. Thank you, Jeff.
You're welcome. Glad
I haven't quite figured out how to set it up. I don't know if anybody's really tried, but it makes suggestions here. Do you want to, do this? Mm-hmm. But it doesn't really tell me where I could actually go to actually, there should be like some kind of like flow where you say, okay, this is this. What do you want to come up? What don't you want to come up? So I haven't quite found that yet, but I'm sure.
What I'm hearing is figure it out, Jeff, and make a video.
That's what I'm hearing. Yeah, I'm still too behind. I
might have to collaborate on that.
The onboarding stuff tends to come later. Like
right now,
if you poke around and dig into stuff here and there, like sometimes you can find how those things work. But usually, like the intro to that or the onboarding piece of making those things work comes later. So this dovetails nicely into Kelly's Trek film rule of betas, which is only ever bother with the even numbered ones. Do not install beta 1. Don't do it. Don't do it. Beta 2 is where to start. That's what I'm saying. Anyway.
And then And we're seeing a consistent thing across all of these new features, APIs. Now you have a status API for Focus. So now third-party messaging apps can get involved with Focus, which is pretty cool. I'm very impressed that Apple is really adopting these APIs that allow third-party application developers to be able to take advantage of all this great stuff that Apple's is bringing out for sure. And I'm sure, Kelly, you were talking with developers that they're probably pleased as all punch that they're liking it. So
yeah, I got a lot of good feedback about the other pieces of the operating system that are going to be able to be accessed. And I know normally we get other people that come on stage and talk about things, but even though those appearances were zero this time, I still feel like we got a whole lot of here's a feature and here's all the folks that we've partnered with, or here's a partner that it's happening this year that we've teamed up with them on that. And like that happened with everything. It happened with SharePlay. Like they got Disney Plus on SharePlay. Honestly, that blew my mind. They have SharePlay. Like here's a bunch of like everybody but Netflix and Prime Video is signed up for SharePlay. We got the house key stuff that's coming that is going to, that I think is part of Wallet and HomeKit. Like it's going to make it so that you can unlock your house. Work badges, like they're working with people that do prox cards and badging in and out. They're working with companies that make those systems so that those things are things that people can do. You can eventually show your driver's license on your phone to the TSA, which is going to be in your wallet next to your plane ticket, which is also going to hopefully be a very convenient thing someday if my state ever gets it together and can issue the licenses that let me get on a plane again. And then I also have to want to ever get on a plane again. But like all of these things kept, every time they announced one, it was like here, like it's available to somebody. Either we've made it available to these folks ahead of time. And so you can, when you go to use this, it will be a feature of consequence. But the one that I'm most interested in is third-party Siri, because they're going to put Siri on third-party devices. It's going to be possible for you to talk to the S lady and not have her only living, or him, whatever, not have your assistant exclusively in your phone or in your iPad. I don't know anybody that has it actually activated on their computer. So you're not going to have to just talk to iOS in order to get a hopefully accurate answer from your assistant. And so I'm really curious what shape that's going to take. Like who's going to get in on that? Who's going to make it so that they have speakers that have it in it or whatever else? Like I think that's going to be the most interesting piece of this to watch, because it felt like kind of a small piece relatively of the keynote, because they just sort of tossed it in the middle of the home stuff while everybody was distracted by looking at the model home and all the people running around and stuff. And they were like, oh, by the way, like it's going to be available on third-party devices. Now let's talk about why the HomePod Mini is great, and it didn't feel like it got a lot of attention. So I think it was like the small thing from this keynote that's going to end up having great big impact later on.
And then I'm just going to kind of skim over messages a little briefly. The consistent theme through messages is a shared with you feature, and that's going to go across all of the different apps and services. So Safari, Apple News, Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, Apple TV app, photo collections. You'll have much more flexibility with sharing things with Share With You. I won't spend too much time on that, but other than that we'll definitely get into that later. Once people have it out there and you have experience using it. But I think that's a decent thing that they were doing here. So, Maps got a nice updates, interactive globe, driving features, detail cities. So there's a lot of great stuff in there. They've really done some great things. Safari got tab groups as well as the streamlined tab bar, and we were demoing this last night with the being able to swipe between the tabs. The tabs now go down to the bottom, and then when you tap it, it brings the URL bar at the top so you can see it, then it hides it, giving you a much more rich feature with that. So there's lots of things you touched on Wallet, the home keys and such. There's lots of stuff there. A couple things that did stand out for me that I'm really excited to start using is the live text, being able to get live text in photos, and as well as live text when you're taking a picture. And they showed the example during during the presentation where you take a picture of a sign that has a phone number on it. It picks it up right away. You tap the phone number and it dials the number right away. As well as I've tried it in getting being able to scan text that's in a photo. I mean, it's just absolutely amazing being able to, with the technology they put in this, to be able to see that. And then if any comments about that, Kelly?
I have comments about everything. But mostly, I just, again, like the live text thing looks a little bit like magic. I feel like it was one of the other, and part of the reason it's magic is because some of the stuff that Apple's done already. That's part of what I thought was notable about it. Like if you load a mobile website on your phone and it shows you a phone number, you can tap on the phone number and it will call you. It will call that number. Or if you get an email with a tracking number in it, you can tap on the tracking number and your phone goes, that looks like FedEx. And then it'll go track your FedEx shipment for you. And the fact that all those data detectors are things that have been coming into the operating system over these many years, that we've had the sort of intelligence to make those things happen. The fact that they can now apply that stuff to a picture, I think is really interesting, and I really like where it goes, and I think it's going to be really convenient. And the first thing I thought of after they were taking pictures and like selecting the text and things like that was, if this is them Sherlocking every single scan your business card app that's in the App Store right now.
It's very possible,
because I do that all the time. I enter them by hand like a caveman. If I don't have a current OCR piece of software that I am using, but I will always take a picture of a business card because I will lose the business card, but I won't lose my phone.
Warren, have you tried live text since you got beta on your phone?
That's the feature. That's the killer feature right now. So
what's your experience?
That's pretty much why I upgraded so fast. It's awesome. It is. It's pretty much doing what I do. I'm constantly sending serial numbers and error messages and to things like that to other people, and just to be able to take a picture of like today somebody had an error message on their phone, an Android phone, and it was this huge long chain, and I just took a picture of it and then took my finger and selected the entire error message and copied and pasted it over to tech support.
Look up.
It was just great. So, I mean, it works. And I've actually used it in real life for the past 2 days. So, and it's really good. If you look at your existing photo library too, you'll see on the top left corners, there's a little chat box. I noticed it's like so that chat box kind of means that it recognizes some kind of text. And sometimes you got to find it. So like, there's one that, my son was ordering a mask and a tiny logo that said the name of the school. I'm like, what is it looking for? It's like, so I had to zoom in to see. It's crazy. So it's and then I hear like things where you could actually these things become searchable already. Yeah. So that's going to be great too. So once you have enough data, I don't know how long it takes to parse all of it, but it's killer. And I've tried the third-party apps.
I've got live scan I've been using for a while, which actually was very good. But
yes, I use a few that were decent, but when it's built in like that, you just use it more. You kind of forget about the other stuff, and that's not the vendor's fault, but it's natural.
No, that's human nature.
It's human nature.
So I mean, it's right in front of you, and you if you remember to use it, then you'll use it in everyday life. It's just crazy. And so far it's pretty accurate. It's not 100%. Like it's definitely I've seen errors here and there, but it's pretty good. Yeah.
Jeff, what did you think of this feature? You have to be excited about this too.
Oh my God! As soon as I saw the whole live text thing, my first thought was, this is the killer feature for when you're in school and when you're at a session at a conference. Because what happens every time the one slide comes up that has all the information that really matters to you, a sea of cameras goes up and everyone's taking a picture. I mean, like I'll even have slides and presentations where I'll say, this is a slide that you actually want to take a photo of and step out of the way so everyone can do it.
I do that too.
But the thing is, when I'm doing it, I get this photo and now I'm putting a photo into a note-taking app so that I've got it, but it's not searchable. I can't do anything else with it except look at it. This changes everything.
Yeah.
And then the next feature actually that goes in along with the live text with text and photos is also visual lookup. Being able to swipe up and tap information and whatnot on any photo to highlight recognized objects, maybe popular art, landmarks, pets. Have you tried that yet, Warren, with your dog, to see if it actually would be able to know what a breed of your dog is?
I haven't tried that. It's done something like that in the past. Recognize dogs, at least in the past.
Yeah.
So I was able to search it, put in a dog in my photo search, and I found it. But yeah, I haven't got that granular yet. But I will try it.
I'd be interested to know how well it does. But we've got some time here. It's going to be a few months here where we'll be playing with this, and I'll definitely be covering this in future shows here. So,
and this is only developer beta 1.
Yeah, we're on developer beta, so there's so much change ahead. So,
this is the beta number where you assume that when you install it, that the back of your device will melt and the processor will fall out and you'll hear angels cry.
No,
it's
usually
the next beta is where it's safer.
No, I found the last few years it's the opposite. The first release that comes out is pretty good, and you're like, oh, this is going to be easy, and then it doesn't get easy.
Never easy.
That's how they get you, Warren.
That's what it is. So, that's exactly what happened. I put it on my iPad. I'm like, this is great, no problems at all. So I'm like, okay, I'll put it on my phone. I'm like, all right, this is okay. Oh, Salesforce doesn't open. That's a kind of a thing I need. Okay, so let's revert the iPad back so I at least have Salesforce. But, the watch, who cares about the watch? So let's update the watch. Well, I updated the watch. You never update the watch, but I did.
Never update the watch.
So now I'm stuck. So we're going to see how it goes.
We love you, Warren. You just are just a dedicated beta tester, I tell you.
It's only a phone. It's not. What's the worst that's going to happen?
This is why I have what I call my sacrificial iPad.
Me too.
That's where I run my betas.
That was my initial plan, but I can't help myself.
Warren got happy.
This is what happens when you eat edibles as snacks.
To be fair, I would have done that sober too. I've just, I feel like if I put it on machines that I'm never going to use, then I'm never going to learn it. So I just got to do it, and, just be on it all the time. But in hindsight, I should have waited probably a little bit or
at least start with one. Do one and then give it a while.
But the good news is I've seen Apple Watches on sale for as low as 200 something. So that's plan B.
Series 3.
Buy myself something really cheap so I could revert my phone back to iOS 14.
You'll have to reload it. You'll have to reload it every time anyway. Series 3 has no space.
Yeah, if you get Series 3. Yeah.
That's all right. As long as it works, I can do it. But that's an emergency plan. I'm going to try to limp through. So let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
Well, good luck. We're all counting on you.
So, in closing on the iPhone and iOS 15, we're gonna dig in some of the privacy features here in just a second. I just want to make sure everybody knows with iPhone, which is awesome, iOS 15 is going to be compatible with anything that's now currently running iOS 14. That means a 6S and a 6S Plus. If you have that iPhone, a 7-year-old iPhone will run iOS 15.
And I we talked about that. We actually said we were sure. You could probably find out. We were sure.
I thought we were sure it's going to be the 7.
We were like the 6 is definitely not going to make it, and we actually said that in iOS.
And it did. And I think the SE is also part of that too. If I can think
the SE is definitely on the list.
The first SE, I believe. First gen. So it's amazing, and the first gen SE is going back at least 6 years as well. So you know what, Apple is awesome when it comes to compatibility with iPhones. They really are.
Can I throw the caveat in there?
Yeah, absolutely.
First, yes, it's absolutely awesome that you can install iOS 15 this fall on an iPhone SE, iPhone 6, iPhone 6S. I love that. I started going through all the features and and where the breakpoints are for when you lose features. My feeling is that the minimum phone you should have if you want to really start taking advantage of iOS 15 is an iPhone XS or iPhone XR.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I
Below
have a
that,
10R,
you
so-
start losing too many features.
I agree. And that's always been that way. I mean, you're not going to
Yeah.
get, I mean, I'm not even sure if live text is going to work on 6S or 6S Plus.
No, it doesn't.
No.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why iPhone 10s and 10R
Yeah.
are my
I
basic.
thought it'd
anything-
be,
it's
I thought it'd be
anything to do
10
with-
with like Face ID, like that would be the line. So
But it has to do with the onboard process. They're starting to do on-phone processing a lot more
Yeah.
because like the Siri is going to be on board now for a lot of things, and the photo library scanning is on board. So
Yeah.
I mean, anything that's like not on board should work fine because
Right.
basically it's a screen and then the internet connection.
the same as what it was before. Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. And so before we get into some of the other features with privacy and others in iCloud, there's one I want to touch on too. Let's talk a little bit about the iPadOS 15. I know a lot of people out there are a little disappointed that they didn't do a lot of upgrades that they should have. And Kelly, I know you'll have an opinion here. I'll let you give us your opinion in just a sec here. But I want to just at least highlight some of the things that they added. All the features we just talked about will be on an iPad for the most part. One of the key things they finally brought to the iPad is having the ability to having widgets on the home screen. That was such I'd never understood why in iOS 14 you couldn't do that. And I know Jeff. Yeah, I can definitely hear your thoughts about widgets. You're the widget guru. When it comes to doing widgets, so you have to be happy with that.
Is that on your business
Yes.
card, by the way?
Widget guru.
It will be now.
I made it up for you.
And you can scan that card. He only needs one because everybody's
Yeah.
just going to scan it with live text and then have it in their camera roll.
Exactly.
Right.
So you have to be happy with at least now we're going to get some good widgets in
I was
iPads.
very pleased with that announcement. I mean, not having widgets across all of your home screens on the iPad seemed to me like the most incredible waste of resource that Apple could have possibly come up with for the iPad last year.
Yeah.
Especially after on iOS 14, you were able to make the widget view persistent on your iPad. Like even the zero screen of your phone, like you could make that persistent down the side on your iPad first. Like that was the first place that was like a thing you could see that all the time, and that was really nifty. And then that was all you got for a while, and that was weird.
I think it
that's
took
pretty
Apple a
disappointing.
little bit of time to figure out how they were going to implement it because I think
Well,
if it
clearly,
was done wrong, it would look wrong, really wrong. So I've seen what it looks like, and it's once it's there, it's like okay, it's there, and you still have your phone to have the widgets. It's nice, but it's not something that's going to be something that you're really going to be.
It's not a
it
game
depends
changer.
on the
It
person.
just took a long time.
I mean, having widgets where you can strategically put the information that you want across different screens, to me that's a big thing. And then having say like a smart stack widget that's loaded up with shortcuts you use, and then let that smart stack figure out when you're using them, so it's always the shortcut that you need when you need it. To me, that's a big thing on the iPad.
But I also think the widgets need to be more interactive because what I would picture is something more like a camera widget where I could see my cameras, the live view of my cameras, and now you're almost getting into like windows of programs at this point. So what constitutes a widget and what constitutes a little program on the side that actually does something?
Yeah, Warren, I'm going to take it a step farther from what you said, and just come right out and say it. Apple gave us interactive widgets and then took them away. Why haven't they given them back to us yet?
That's right.
They weren't even very interactive though. They were,
but they were interactive enough. For example, I had a widget on my iPhone for my OmniFocus tasks, and I could just see the list and just tap it in the widget and check off things that I have done. And then one day, because Apple decided, why would anyone want to have that sort of convenience? They took it away. And now tapping on the thing that I want to check off takes me into the app where I have to tap the thing that I want to check off. which just seems ridiculous.
I think that comes down to, I think battery is a lot of, has to do a lot of what to do on here. I think they really consider the battery life. And the more things are interactive, the more it has to run all the time because it's doing something.
Sure.
That's why, if you remember the first beta of iOS 14, the weather app didn't update, or even the clock. Remember the clock would you would take 10 minutes for it to catch up with itself, because Apple is very, very big on making things not run all the time on an iOS device. So that's what they really want to do.
Yeah,
I mean, I do appreciate that.
I really want
both sides of it. Like, can you? And I know they won't because it wouldn't be a great customer experience. But could you be like, you get 4 that you can actually interact with the end, and then if you try to make a 5th one that's like, this is my 5th checklist app that I want a widget of that I can tap it. It goes, okay, which of the 4 do you want to get rid of? Because you get 4, or something. Like, just if that's what they're trying to do is hit that sweet spot. Like, do something a little more interesting with it. Like, choose which 4 you get. Like, I get this is probably why there's no mail widget. I don't like that there's no mail widget. I thought that was a very reasonable ask. Like, just show me the mail widget so I can just peek at my inbox instead of having to actually open mail. So I can see, like, I'm waiting on an email. Did it come yet? Don't care. I don't have to worry about it until it shows up. Whatever. Just show me, like, the 4 most recent messages in my inbox, or the 4 or 5, whatever. That'd be great. But it doesn't work. I can't do it. It's not a thing. I'm kind of bummed about it. And so, I feel like pieces of it are really frustrating because, like, you gave it to me and it looked awesome and I want to use it. And every time I go to use it, it's basically like, no, not that way. And that's getting really frustrating. So I basically don't have any widgets because I find it very frustrating because every time I mess with them and I want them to do something awesome, it turns out they don't do that. So it's a bummer.
Yeah, absolutely.
The weather, though, since Warren brought it up, the weather looks awesome now. So thanks, Dark Sky.
Yeah,
I'm really jazzed about that.
I've got that as our discussion point here. Hold that thought. I want to finish off with iOS 15 here. The app library was added. Good. Happy.
Finally.
But the awesome thing they add is the app shelf stack. That is so awesome. When we did a demo of it last night during the iPhone special interest group, and it is just amazing how the animation, you tap it, brings right up.
Cool.
It is so cool. And
it's fast.
It's super fast, and especially when I was doing it on a first gen iPad Pro 12.9. So I've definitely noticed that iOS 15 is running pretty fast on an older device like that. So it was pretty nifty to see that. So those are coming to some of the standout features of iOS 15. Again, we'll be talking more about this over the next few months, I should say here. So, but I wanted to spend a little extra time here on privacy, and I wanted to get into that. But let's talk about. I did tell you to hold that thought about the weather app. So go ahead. The weather app is pretty awesome. They did some great updates to it. The graphics is really cool. It got the animated clouds and the animated rain.
The animation looks great.
Animation is really good, and like you said, dark sky is slowly getting to be sunsetted here. So
all the radar stuff. Well, yes and no, because the radar stuff is all dark sky stuff that we can now see in the stock weather app. But today or yesterday, Dark Sky it was announced that the Dark Sky API is going to be available for another year. So it's going to be at least next June before that goes away. So anybody who's using it now can continue to use it, and that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm excited to get because they talked about there being hundreds of weather animations or something. Mm-hmm. So I look forward to having far more variety in the rain in the weather app, because I have more variety in the rain in the weather.
Absolutely.
Living in Colorado, I expect there will be many days where I will be able to run through all the animations through the course of a day.
I look forward to it.
Absolutely. So let's get into privacy, and we're going to dig first into iCloud, and they announced iCloud Plus, which I thought was a pretty cool thing. And here I am, oh boy, here we go. It's going to cost us more money, right? Well, no, actually, it's going to be the same price. Everything that we're going to talk about here is included in what you pay for in iCloud. So iCloud, it's basically going to be now called iCloud Plus. So a couple things here that really stand out here is account recovery. Oh my God, what a pain that's always been for us. Whenever someone forgets their password, they don't have another device. I mean, a good case in point is my mom had temporarily lost her phone, and she had no other device to get her code from the two-factor authentication. Thank God she had her iPad mini that she hadn't used in a while, saying it wasn't working. And I said, Dad, turn it on. And luckily it worked. And then that freaked them out because they had never used Find My before, and they saw she left it in the grocery store, and they found it right down to what aisle it was in. So,
wow.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Wow.
So, but what the account recovery is going to allow you to be able to add a recovery contact list and be able to call that person or persons to send and get the code, and all you have to do is call them and get that code, and then you're back in. So your family, your friends, you can now add an account recovery, which is pretty awesome. The other thing I was very, very pleased to hear about was the digital legacy program.
Yes.
Finally. So now when someone does pass, this gives the loved ones access to their iCloud account. So you can go in, set up a digital legacy, put all that information with your family and friends, and probably more so family. So when they unfortunately pass, you now are going to be able to get access to all of their digital legacy and not lose anything that they already have on their iCloud account. So
I don't know if that's good or bad, but yeah.
Well, yeah, Warren,
once you're dead, what do you care? But for the people that are left behind.
Yeah, I don't know if I want my son to know that I was such a... Anyway, Facebook did it too, right? Facebook did I think a few years ago they did it. And
I don't know that Google has this, and the thing about it, I think, is that it's usually a Google ID or an Apple ID that's tied to a phone. And so why this wasn't in literally any version of iOS before now, by the time people were like this, how many people have had to, on top of everything else that they're dealing with in that moment, like go to the Genius Bar and hand them an iPhone and say, this was my mom's and she just passed away and I need Intuit.
Yeah.
And so like the same sort of, it's the same sort of thing. Like I used to have a job where I talked to people all the time who said, I need the password to this. And it was not a password we could give them. And it really sucks to have to be a person who goes, there's nothing I can do to help you with the situation that you're in. And I'm really sorry about that. And so that's like, I'm glad that somebody finally stopped and thought about it. But, again, eventually, like I wish this had happened in iOS 7 or iOS 10 or iOS 12. And, I'm glad we got it. I wish it had been sooner. Luckily, I've not been in that situation, but it's definitely a thing that I'm glad we have. If for no other reason, like a lot of people don't have a computer anymore. So the phone is where all the email happens. And so like this is where all the bill pay comes in. This is where all of the other sorts of logins and passwords and things, like accessing that email is going to be really important if you need to get into stuff on this person's behalf later. And so I'm really glad they finally did it.
I work in a retirement home. This is going to come very handy.
I was going to say,
I'm going to go around and I'm going to start talking hold a class and say, listen, you're all probably going to die soon. So here's what you're going to need to do.
Maybe
that's a little harsh.
Warren, maybe you should just set up Zoom and let Jeff and I take this for you. We might be slightly more diplomatic.
This is and what then Jeff will
distract him by making jokes about underpants, and it'll be.
No, I think Warren really wants to do this.
No, I work there, and these people do talk like this, and they won't flinch at all. If I said, listen, you're going to die pretty soon, and your kids are going to want to see your want to know your password to your bank. And
you've given this talk already about making sure they all have an emergency contact set up, right?
No,
he's going to do that talk now too.
There's
no emergency. There's no emergency contact in a nursing home. If they live in the emergency contact.
If you call, but if they call 911 for something, then their person could get a notification. They don't call 911. They live in a community. They live in a closed community. I know.
We actually put in systems that let us know if they don't move for a couple hours.
Oh, okay. So then I guess you got it covered. Yeah.
We got that covered.
And then this feature actually was actually announced during the developers conference after the announcement, and I have a link in the show notes for our friend Andrew Orr from Mac Observer. iCloud Keychain now gets a time-based one-time password, and this was a nice standout that this was revealed from one of Apple's videos during the conference. It's called a time-based one-time password, and they're codes that you'll receive when you add two-step authentication to an online account. And these are 6-digit numbers that change every 30 seconds to reduce an account hack. So really, it's an authenticator app that's built into Keychain. So now we don't have to use your Microsofts or Googles or whatever whatever
I
flavor
have
you want.
so much set up in Authy.
And that's the thing, you have Authy,
But
so I don't know if this is
mostly
something
it's like
everybody
Well,
would use.
I have all of them, and sometimes like I get a prompt, and I'm like, because they're all called authenticator if you look on iOS,
Right.
So I'm like, I gotta remember what the picture was.
where did that one go? Yeah.
Which is the Microsoft one, which is now I have a Facebook one too. I'm like, it's getting nuts. It's getting nuts.
I love that this is an expansion of this is just a fundamental upgrade to like everyone's security. So I really hope that it's a thing that people do. My problem with it always tended to be racing the clock. Like it says it has 10 seconds left. I'm never going to get it in and get the request back successfully in that 10 seconds. So now I have to wait that 10 seconds until it turns over to 30 again with a whole new number.
It's still better than an RFID cards that we used to carry around. Remember?
It's so much better. Yes.
Yeah, we had to get them out of our
100%
pockets and find it on a keychain.
Yes. 100% better than that. Still not a great experience. So having this be something that happens silently in the background, like 1Password does this and it'll tell you like you can use 1Password as your authentication mechanism if you want to. And that's all really nice. But having it on the back end, it's the same. I keep likening it to Time Machine. Like it's just set it and forget it. And then it's a very easy way to make sure that you have some sort of semblance of backup happening if something were to happen to your machine. This is some semblance of security. Like we got iCloud Keychain, which is decent. And then if we could just like the two things I've wanted out of it for a long time, and to Andrew's credit, the Friday before the keynote, we were looking forward to what was going to happen. And he said, I'd really like to see one-time pass TOTP come to iCloud Keychain so that it's something that's better for everyone to use. And then it happened. It was very cool.
He must have really
very cool.
Very cool that he did that.
He took quite the victory lap. I'll tell you what.
I bet. Big grin on his face.
He must be insufferable right now.
He was before. It's just gotten worse. No, I can't.
We love Andrew.
Yes, he knows I do. The thing that I really want out of it now is to configure the password generator, because that's a thing. I wish it would let me use words. I wish it would let me capitalize something, or at least copy it and then modify the thing that if it wants a different punctuation, or if I have to put a number in it and there's no number in the one that they feed me, so that those requirements, so that it meets all the requirements on the website for whatever it is that the website is asking for. Because not everybody wants upper and lower, not everybody wants a number, not everybody will take punctuation if you put it in. So even if it's got dashes, sometimes that won't work. So until everybody else can get their password requirement poop in a group, like it'd be really nice if I could take that thing that it gives me and make some adjustments so that it fits the thing that I'm using. Other than that, like the fact that they've added TOTP, the fact that some of these other things I'm hoping are going to just continue to expand, so that the people who are relying on the tool that they have, which the best password manager you have is the one you have with you. As long as those things start really getting adopted, then I think it's going to be a lot better for everybody. And just as a whole, everyone's going to be more secure. And I have absolutely no complaints about that.
Nope. The next thing I want to talk about just briefly is Apple is going to give folks who don't have a paid version of iCloud 3 weeks of free access to iCloud storage when they migrate a device. Wow, awesome! That's pretty generous. I mean, although we've always had that debate: 5 gigabytes, please, Apple. You need to give at least 10 gigabytes. I think that'd be fair. I have
a question on that. If you buy a device every 3 weeks, you just continually get that for storage.
Yeah, well, that would be something you would do.
And I thought iCloud storage was expensive now.
So
I'm just asking for a friend.
Yeah, I think that's something you would do. So, but you probably could do that. Yeah, as you get a new device. The that's great. Great that Apple's doing that. I'm pretty pleased with that. So, and then they announced this mail privacy protection, which I was pretty impressed with. I did not know that and they showed that during the presentation, that links that are in an actual email find out something about you just by the link that the graphic is in there, and they showed that. Did you guys know that? Because I didn't.
I found out the hard way because I was signed up for a newsletter that and I don't remember what it was. I don't remember what the newsletter was, but I was signed up for like this mailing list, and it sent an email, and I looked at it and went, that looks cool, I'll read it later. And I didn't read it. And like maybe almost a week later, I got another email that was like, did you miss it? And it was the same email over again, but it was like, we know you didn't read it. And I'm like, guess who just got unsubscribed? Because I'm never reading anything from you again. That's creepy. You shouldn't know that you shouldn't know I didn't open that email. I don't know how you did it, and I don't like it, and we're done here. That was kind of how it went. So
that's surprisingly or sadly how these email advertising systems work. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's such a commonplace thing. If you use MailChimp, this is something you can do with MailChimp, because the idea of at least for marketers, the idea of I need to gauge success somehow, and then they equate that to did someone open an email? Mm-hmm. That's a big thing for them.
Well, and that's their business.
Yeah. And
or how many people clicked on this link versus the one further down in the email that was phrased differently, or like A/B
or
testing,
had a different
like
color button or whatever.
Yeah.
Or they used to put a warning. The first thing they did was prevented to load remote images. Right, that was the thing that really could get you. I guess it loaded something when the images loaded, but maybe this is kind of. Yeah, maybe this is sort of an extension of that. Mm-hmm. A URL is sort of the same way as somehow getting it, like an image would get something. But I when I upgraded the phone, I got the notification says you want to turn something on about mail thing privacy, and I said sure.
And you tapped it so hard that your finger practically went through the screen.
And since then, I haven't got any mails from anybody, so it's working.
It's absolutely working as designed.
Yeah. Like my wife is wondering where I am, but it's working great.
So didn't she tape an AirTag to you?
I thought you had an AirTag implanted. Yeah.
I have an AirTag implanted in other people. Never implanted in yourself.
So the three things it does do, so we didn't go over that, is it does hide your IP address. So now when that's turned on, they will never know what your IP address is. It hides your location, so they'll never know where you're sending the email from. And then it also hides what we just talked about, hides if you open the email, because that's, like you said, MailChimp's probably notorious for doing that, because the email marketers want to know if you opened it and looked at it. So that's going to kind of circumvent some of those things that those marketers do. So, and then speaking of hiding your email, you can hide your email address. You can create a unique random email when you sign up for something that'll still link to your iCloud account, but it'll be some random weird email address, and they won't be able to know what your actual email address is.
Like sign in with Apple.
This is better
sign in with Apple.
than doing the thing. Yeah. No, this is better than the thing where you make up a fake name or whatever, plus and then your email address, because they still have your domain.
Yeah.
And then they can just start spamming to like anything they can think of at that domain.
Help at, support at, tickets at, sales
when you have
at.
When you have to put in an address to log into like free Wi-Fi or something like that, I just put in, you don't put in your real information. So my go-to is Bob, first name Bob, last name Bob. My email address is bob@bob.com, and it always works. So that's a little trick.
Yeah, I learned a while ago, some places they're looking for the clever names like no at I won't give my address to you.com, and then they'll reject those. So something that's more plain, like bob@bob.com.
Works
But
every
the
time.
thing is, can you imagine all the junk email Bob is getting? There, I mean,
So,
someone
I
has
haven't
bob.com and
considered-
there's Bob email address at it.
I haven't considered that for Bob.
See, I feel like
bad
at this
now.
point, whoever owns it is one of those companies that's like, yeah, I'll sell that for $100,000, and so they deserve that.
Oh,
level
yeah,
of
actually
email.
they're trying to. It's some company out of I just went to bob.com and there's it's like a domain squatting company
Of
out
course.
of Japan, maybe.
Link farm.
The domain
Korea?
squatters deserve all the junk mail we can send them.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then HomeKits, the secure video, you can hook up cameras, and you have unlimited cameras, which I think was pretty awesome, as well as the video that you record with your cameras does not go towards your iCloud storage,
Which is awesome.
which is
I feel
really
like
awesome.
that's a huge deal.
Yes.
Really awesome.
Yeah.
So that in itself it really brings it out. And I wanted to wrap things up here with talking about the private relay, and our best friend here, Dave Hamilton, wrote an amazing article, and I just raved about it on social media this morning about iCloud private relay, and he just did an amazing write up of explaining it in English what it actually does and how it works. It just really it's basically going from a VPN server to a website, and they've got in between proxies and ingress and an egress proxy that filters it through the access of the network, and it has no idea, and it just keeps you separated, and your browsing activity will not be scanned. And I think this is probably the most genius thing that Apple has done when it comes to privacy with this, and I'm very impressed with this. And Dave just did a great write up of this and a lot of the great information about it. And it hides your IP address, it hides your location. It really helps you surf privately, and you don't have to be connected to a VPN in order to take advantage of this on an Apple device. So, Jaffa, what do you think? I think this is just something really amazing.
This is fantastic. I mean, everything Apple has been doing over the past few years to improve our privacy online, they deserve fruit baskets for. And this is their latest fruit basket, because they've taken our Macs running Safari and made them all look like everyone's using the exact same computer. So, and that's not an iOS 15 or Monterey. This is stuff that's already out there for us. So they can't even do the really creepy IDing, like asking your computer what fonts you have installed, and then building profiles, which is a thing, building a profile of what fonts you have, because only you are going to have that exact set of fonts, probably. You can't do stuff like that. And now you're even more anonymous online. And I just think that's a fantastic thing.
I will point out, not because I want to derail the conversation, but the private relay stuff, and there's a second piece that I'm not going to remember. They're not available in China, and they probably will never be available in China. For as much as this was one of the things they said during the keynote that felt very snarky, but whenever Apple talks about privacy being a human right, you have to mentally add to the end of every one of those sentences, unless you live in China, because that's a whole separate thing. And because we know as much about it as we do, and we probably don't know all of it anyway, but the part that we do know makes some of that ring a little hollow when they decide they're going to highlight it quite that hard at a public event. So I had a hard time myself reconciling those, like, you're not going to do this in China, and of course they're not going to do it in China. And even though even though it's not rolling out to everybody all at once as part of iOS 15 anyway, like, still it felt a little icky. I don't know. It's not quite the right word, but it wasn't great. And I felt like it wasn't a good look, knowing that all of the stuff about China had just come out, and that we had talked about. Recently, we've talked about, like, Apple's relationship with China and why there is one, et cetera, and like what it looks like, because their relationship with China isn't the relationship they have with other countries. So, I feel like that's a thing to sort of keep in mind, as much as they're doing awesome stuff for other people. And and I will always delight in whatever the latest iteration is of Apple giving Facebook the finger that will never fail to make me happy because of Facebook's business model. I will be happy about that every day and twice on Sunday, as they say where Tim Cook is from. And but this, like the fact that they keep banging this drum about privacy being a human right, and then they talk about like the human rights stuff in their supplier reports and all these sorts of things, and then to have this relationship with China that we've like basically just been learning about over the last month or so, felt a little difficult to reconcile through part of the keynote, which was
I'm going to start this by saying I am not defending Apple. What Apple's having to do in China, it absolutely sucks. And it's a really hard place, not just for Apple, but for all these other companies that are trying to do business in China. Yeah. How do you do it? I mean, you're not going to be able to have your business in the country if you don't comply with these onerous, horrible, privacy invading laws that they have.
Demands. Yeah.
And so Apple, they could say, you know what? We're standing by our principles and we're pulling out. Okay, well, now they lose a massive supply chain, which they can't afford to do. And Apple is a company; it is not a person. They're beholden to their shareholders, and the profit losses that would happen if Apple pulled out of China would result in crazy lawsuits from shareholders.
Oh, I'm sure.
And it's the same with any other company. So it's disingenuous, but on the other hand, I'm looking at this like they have to do this really creepy, dirty thing today.
Well, Kelly,
it keeps them in the door. Maybe that keeps the door open enough so down the road they can work with other companies to change this, and maybe some good will come out of it. But at the same time, ew.
What I think they're doing though, Kelly, is when they say it's not available in China like that, it's basically putting the Chinese government in the spotlight of being the bad people to the Chinese public is what they're doing. It's basically like an uncle telling the child that, we could have all this fun, but your dad is not letting us play, or your dad's not letting us out. So it's basically them, it's sending a message to the government saying, listen, we could give all your people all this great stuff, but you, the government, aren't letting us do it.
Well, so on the one hand, yes, I agree with that. On the other hand, I wonder if there was a legitimate way for anyone in China to watch that keynote, for example. And I wonder, and I know why they're doing it. They're doing it because that's where they make iPhones. And right now we have, let's make it up, because the iPhone came out in 2007. Let's say they started making it in 2006. It is entirely possible that there is a group of people in China who have 15 years experience building iPhones at a minimum, at a maximum. It is very possible that there's a larger number of people who have been building iPhones for more than 10 years. There's still a certain amount of human labor that goes into that, and I understand that. And if they decided that they needed to pick that business up wholesale and move it all to Foxconn Vietnam or India or whatever, you're going to not be able to take all of those people with you. You're going to have to start a lot of stuff over institutional knowledge. We've all seen stuff like this happen before. And it can be you can have an institutional knowledge hole if one person leaves. So now if you're going to leave every worker in your factory behind and you're going to pick it up and move it to an entirely new country and all that entails, and then you're also losing any part of your workforce that had a lick of experience, and you have to start that all over from zero. Yes, that's going to be a giant pain.
Right. But
it's going to be a pain in a place that David has to edit if I say it. But yeah.
But Apple's saying this not just to China, but to the world. And he figures if the world puts pressure on China, that's a good thing.
I want very much to believe that is true, and I want very much to believe that it will make a difference.
Oh, it's 100% true.
I want it very much.
Apple definitely wants to put the pressure on the world to put pressure on China.
Oh, no, I know they do.
100%, because they want China to be open and happy, and they want their workers to be able to thrive and stay there. So
it doesn't need to be any more
best interest to make China happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be any more complicated than this, right? Tim Cook is from Alabama. Tim Cook is Southern. And if I know one thing about a proper Southern person will smile at you and offer you more sweet tea while they slide the knife between your ribs, and you won't even notice. And so, yes, do I absolutely think that Tim Cook has a tactic, and that's exactly what that is, yeah, this ain't coming to China. See if you can figure out why. Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. I'm not dumb. I know that's true. But I feel like sometimes it rankles a little because of the way that they pointed out, because I think there's still a lot of RDF around Apple, even though Steve's not there to power the field. And I think that a portion of that sometimes means that things like, it's not like this isn't coming to China right now. It's basically never coming to China because of China is something that gets lost in all of the but there's drag and drop on iPad now. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's just a thing I want to point out once in a while. I'm not trying to hard sell. I love the keto. All this was very exciting. I've been talking to David about it for days now. I'm super jazzed about it, but sometimes there's things that fall off.
This is a tough conversation, but yeah, it's not good. I did put a link in the show notes if anybody wants to look at what the feature isn't available in China and many other countries as well around the world. One other last thing I'll mention is iCloud is going to let mail users personalize their email domains by allowing them to use their customized domain name. Mm-hmm. So you'll be able to add that article's in the show notes as well. But definitely give Dave Hamilton's great article a read about private relay. He just really did a great job of explaining it, and it's some good stuff. It's a lot of good stuff for the show this week, and I appreciate all of you being here this week. Went a little over, but I thought it was worth the conversation for us to make sure we covered everything we thought was ideal for this week. And again, we can go another hour. There was lots of stuff that was mentioned, but I think you guys get the gist of it. And,
let's go.
What's that, Warren?
Yeah. I'm cracking my knuckles. Let's go.
He's ready.
That's okay.
I'm awake.
All right. No, that's okay. We want to keep. All right,
I'm here for hour 2.
Yeah, maybe another show. So let's go ahead and wrap things up here. If you guys are okay with that, please. That is a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Twitter @intouchwithios. You can also subscribe in your favorite podcatcher, including Apple Podcasts and many others. But better yet, go to our website intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are there. And I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Twitter @DaveG65. And as we're laughing here, and I'm looking at Kelly. Go ahead, Kelly. Tell us where everybody can find you, please. And thanks for being here too.
It was my pleasure. I told you I'd sign up for before or after or both, and I was sort of kidding because I didn't think you'd take me up on it, but you did. So I appreciate that.
Yes.
You can find me 5 days a week over at themacobserver.com, where I host the Mac Observer Daily Observations podcast. This week, it's a lot of developer spotlight. So I've got interviews with various developers who make various things. To touch briefly on the privacy thing, I had an interview today, as I talked about earlier, with Daniel from App Telemetry, and they collect all kinds of data that is super anonymous that doesn't have to be tied back to anybody for a developer to actually get a load of useful information about their app and its usage. So I was super excited to talk to him for that reason, because of all the privacy stuff that we saw in the keynote. So you can hear him. And James Thompson of About Screen fame was also on the show with me for today's episode. So you can check out a bunch of different developers who make really awesome stuff that I'm really excited to share with everybody. So that's over at macobserver.com. My other podcast, I Want My MCU TV, is making its return very soon, because Disney Plus has started streaming a new Marvel TV show. So we're going to be talking about that over there. That's Don Melton, Lisa Schmeiser, and myself over at I Want My MCU TV on the Incomparable Network. I show up on other episodes there. We're in the midst of a Ted Lasso rewatch on the Football is Life podcast over at The Incomparable, so you can listen to people who really love something talk about how much they love it, and that's always nice too. The rest of the time, if you still can't get enough of me, you can find me on Twitter as Verso. Thank you, Kelly. And Jeff Gamet, thank you as well for being here. I knew this would be a great show to have both of you here, and where can people find you?
Well, first, thank you for having me back again. This is loads of fun. People can find me on Twitter and Instagram. I am Gamet both places. On my new YouTube channel, youtube.com/Gamet. I posted a video today about grabbing or figuring out what DAC you need for your Mac, iPhone, or iPad and setting it up. And you've watched it, so thank you. Yeah, Kelly, I'm enabling you to spend money, and I will say, listening to Apple lossless music on my Mac with my DAC and my Audio Engine A5 speakers here.
I have my DAC. I'm ready. I've been using it. So,
to be fair, I've spent some of Jeff's money in the past too. So it makes sense that he'd come for me at some point. This is how. I get it.
So, I show up on a lot of other podcasts. So I'll mention macOS Ken. We talked a little bit about WWDC. I think it was on Wednesday, and since I've just been talking, I'll stop there.
Thank you, Jeff, for being here. I appreciate it. And Warren, Mac to the Future. Everybody should go out and sign up on Facebook. That's a group that you lead up. And anything else you'd like to say?
I am DAC-less at this point, but I will read the article and I probably will get a DAC because I've been spending the last 2 days trying to get lossless music to sound good, so I'll be doing that. Anyways, yes, I'm on Mac to the Future. Go there. You can follow me wherever you follow Dave, because that's probably where I'll be sometimes. And generally, I just want to take this time to thank Jeff Kelly for coming aboard.
Thanks, everybody, for listening. I hope you enjoyed the show. We enjoyed doing it, and we'll talk again soon.